Hello and welcome to this R tutorial. So in the previous tutorials we did the data preprocessing step and then we trained our a priori model on the dataset with a minimum support of 0.003, 0.3% and a minimum confidence of 40%. Now we did the job and we are finally getting to the exciting step, which is to visualize the results. That is to look at the rules explicitly. We're going to have the list of the strongest rules and we will eventually know how to place the products to optimize the sales. Okay, so let's do it without waiting. This will actually be very easy as well. We will only need one line. But before we write that line, let's jump back to the a priori algorithm intuition slide to see the steps we already did in the algorithm and what steps we need to do left. Okay, so step one was to set the minimum support and confidence. That was done here. We set the minimum support here of 0.3%. and the minimum confidence of 40%. That's not our final word. We might need to change the confidence again, but we did the first step anyway. And then the second step is to take all the subsets in transactions having higher support than the minimum 0.3% support. Okay, so this step 2 was actually completed when we trained the a priori on our dataset. So the function did it itself. And that's the same for step 3. The step 3 is to take all the rules of these subsets that have a higher support than 0.3%. And so we need to take all the rules of these subsets that have higher confidence than this minimum confidence of 40%. And so again, this was completed when we trained the a priori model on a dataset thanks to this a priori function. Okay, so step 3 done. And now we're finally getting to step 4. And that's the step that will lead us to the visualization of the results. So this step 4 is to sort the rules by their decreasing lift. As Kirill explained in the intuition tutorial, the lift is the best metric to measure the relevance of a rule. So that's why we're sorting the rules by their lift rather than their confidence or their support. So that's what we're going to do in this single line of code. And to do this, we're going to use the inspect function. So we type here inspect. And so in this inspect function, we can directly have a look at the rules by typing rules here. And then, if we want to have a look at the first 10 rules, we need to specify here in brackets 1:10. So here we will get the first 10 rules, but that's not very interesting because this will just give us the 10 first rules found by our a priori model. So that's not going to be the rules having the highest lifts. That is the most relevant rules. So that's why right now we need to sort the rules to get indeed the 10 first rules that have the 10 highest lifts. So let's do this. We need to add another function here, which is the sort function, which obviously is used to sort any table by a decreasing or increasing variable. So actually the first argument of this sort function is rules that contains all the rules found by our a priori model. And then the second argument is by, which tells by what we want to sort the rules. And of course, we want to sort the rules by their lift. So here we'll add by equals and then lift. And we keep this 1:10 here to get the 10 first rules that have the 10 highest lifts. All right, so that's actually ready. We are ready to visualize the result. That is to clearly see what the rules are, what the strongest rules are. Okay, so let's execute this. And here we go. All right, that's the rules. As I told you, we get very explicit and clear rules. The first rule is, if people buy mineral water and whole wheat pasta, they will also buy olive oil in 40% of the cases. Then the second rule is, if people buy spaghetti and tomato sauce, they will also buy ground beef in 48% of the cases. Then if people buy French fries and herb and pepper, they will also buy ground beef in 46% of the cases. So that's how the rules work. That's how they are presented thanks to this package. And so these are the first 10 rules with the 10 highest lifts. However, do you see something that is not necessarily very relevant here? Well, if we have a better look at these rules, we can notice that some products are present in a set of items, not because they make a good association, but because they have a high support. A good example of this is the chocolate here. This set of items composed of chocolate and herb and pepper corresponds to some customers that bought chocolate and herb and pepper in their basket. And according to this rule, well, these customers also buy ground beef in 44% of the cases. But the thing is, they don't want to buy ground beef because they had some chocolate in their basket in the first place. Again, that doesn't make any sense. But that's not because the confidence is too low this time. It's because the chocolate has a very high support. We can see that here, chocolate is the 5th product most purchased by these French customers in the south of France. And therefore, this product, chocolate here, falls in a lot of baskets. And especially in this basket number 6 here, composed of chocolate and herb and pepper, as well as this basket number 7 here, composed of chocolate, mineral water, and shrimp. And by the way, in this same basket, there is mineral water that also falls in this 8th basket here. And that's because mineral water is the most purchased product in the store. So of course, it's falling in a lot of baskets. So these products have high support. However, this doesn't mean that we have to change the support now. Because first, we still want to validate our first business point, which was to consider only the products that are bought at least 3 or 4 times a day. But what might be helpful to change now is the confidence. Because indeed, we ask for the rules that have at least a 40% confidence. You can see that all the rules here have confidence over 40%. And the reason the rules have high confidence is because the rules are associated to the baskets that contain the most purchased products in the store. Because of course, if the baskets contain the most purchased products in the store, well, these products will go together in the basket. And it won't be because of some association rules related to this principle, people who bought also bought, but it will be because simply the baskets contain the most purchased products overall. So in order to avoid this, a first idea would be to change the support, but we don't want to change our business related starting points, to consider the products purchased at least 3 or 4 times a day. So the other idea that remains left is of course to change the confidence. Because if we reduce the confidence now, well, we won't get these specific rules that exist because they're associated to the most purchased products that fall in the same baskets, but we will get the most relevant rules that we're looking for and that are related to this principle, people who bought also bought. So that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to change the confidence, well, reduce it. And what we're going to do is what we already did the first time. Remember we had a confidence of 0.8 that gave us no rule. And then we divided it by 2 to obtain this confidence of 0.4 that gave us these rules related to the most purchased products. So now we're going to do the same and divide the confidence by 2 again to get a confidence of 20%. And that should lead us to some more relevant rules that are related to the association rules that we're looking for related to the principle people who bought also bought. Okay, so let's do it. Let's try these new rules because by selecting this line and executing it, the a priori model will be trained again. And so we will get some new rules. So let's do it, execute, and here it is. Okay, first of all, we get a lot more rules. We get 1,348 rules. And that's expected, of course, because since we reduced the confidence down to 0.2, well, of course, the algorithm found a lot more rules. But don't worry, we will not have a look at the 1,348 rules. We will still look at the 10 first rules with the 10 highest lifts. And that's what we're going to do right now by selecting this line and execute it. And here are the new rules. Okay, so let's have a look. The first rule is if people buy mineral water and whole wheat pasta, they will buy olive oil in 40% of the cases. Okay, so that's a rule that makes a lot of sense, even if there is still mineral water. But, it's still a rule that makes sense because, this might be related to some people who are looking to have some healthy meals with mineral water, whole wheat, pasta, and of course, olive oil is very healthy as well. So these go well together, and actually this is kind of a relevant rule. Olive oil should be placed not too far from whole wheat pasta. Okay, then the second rule is if people buy frozen vegetables, milk, mineral water, then they will buy soup in 27% of the cases. Again, this is a rule that actually makes sense, still related to the need of having healthy meals, and milk can go quite well with soup. Well, I know this is the case for French people. French people do tend to put some milk in their soup. And oh, by the way, speaking of French tradition, this is typically what French people love absolutely. Fromage blanc with honey. So fromage blanc, for those of you who don't know, is kind of some cottage cheese. I invite you to look at Wikipedia. But anyway, this goes very well with honey. In a lot of French restaurants, you will find fromage blanc with honey in the desserts menu. but people also make this at their place. So that's kind of a very good association rule. Even if fromage blanc is very different than honey, well, these two products associate very well. And the direction counts here, because if we want to buy fromage blanc, then we want to buy honey because honey goes very well onto fromage blanc. But if we buy honey, we don't necessarily want to buy fromage blanc because we don't want to have fromage blanc in our honey. It's rather, we want to have honey on our fromage blanc and not fromage blanc on our honey. All right. And then what do we have? We have, if people buy spaghetti and tomato sauce, they want to buy ground beef. Well, that makes a lot of sense. That's, of course, to make some spaghetti bolognese. All right. So interesting, quite classic. We don't need a machine learning algorithm to find out about this rule, but, it's actually what French people love associating in their baskets. So, of course, the ground beef shouldn't be too far from the spaghetti and the tomato sauce. And then fifth rule, if people buy light cream, they will buy chicken in 29% of the cases. So not necessarily obvious, if the manager of the store had to place the product itself without any algorithm, this manager would not have necessarily thought to place the chicken next to the light cream. And, if we try to explain this rule, it's probably because, people who buy some light cream want to pay attention to what they eat. And so since chicken is a lighter meat and maybe healthier meat than red meat, like ground beef, well, if they buy light cream and want to associate it with some meat, well, they would rather choose chicken. That's, if we try to explain the rules with some good sense. And then what do we have? We have, if people buy pasta, they will buy escalope in 37% of the cases. Well, why not? That goes well together. Well, that's simply what French people in the south of France love to eat in their meals. And maybe that's also related to French taste, that French people associate light cream with chicken. If we were in India, it would probably have been butter here, or, butter chicken, which is a very good Indian meal. Okay, and then we have French fries and herb and pepper that go very well with ground beef, of course. That's a classic French meal. Then cereal, spaghetti, ground beef. Okay, that's a rule that doesn't make necessarily much sense, and maybe it's due to the same logic that I was explaining earlier. That is that, a lot of people buy cereals, a lot of people buy spaghetti. So spaghetti and cereals often fall in the same basket. And since a lot of people associate spaghetti with ground beef, well, we find this rule, if people buy cereals and spaghetti, they will buy ground beef. So let's be careful with this one. Cereals is not necessarily associated to ground beef, but, we can investigate further. Okay? And then we have these last two rules. If people buy frozen vegetables, mineral water, and soup, they're likely to buy milk in 60% of the cases. Well, this rule is probably related to two facts. First, the fact that milk goes very well with soup for French people, and also because, all this looks very healthy. So that goes quite well together. And then the last rules, French fries and ground beef, that go again very well with herb and pepper. Yes, because of course, here we have French fries and herb and pepper that lead to ground beef. Well, of course, in association rules, the other direction can sometimes be true. And that's exactly the case here. Here we have, if people buy ground beef and French fries, they will also buy herb and pepper. That's kind of a triangle association rules here that we observe, with the three sides of the triangle being French fries, ground beef, and herb and pepper. So that's quite common, but it's not always the case to observe the two directions. Okay, so that's definitely very helpful for the store. Now, thanks to these rules, we can experience a new placement of the products here. We can also look at the 21st rules with the 21st lifts. We won't do it now because we get the point here. However, what we can do is, we actually try another support. We tried 3 values for the confidence, but we only tried 1 value of the support. And remember, we had this hypothesis, this business starting point, when we said that we wanted to consider the products that are bought at least 3 or 4 times a day. Well, this support here, 0.003, is related to the business starting point of considering products that are bought at least 3 times a day. Then what if we consider now products that are bought at least 4 times a day? So that's what we're going to do right now. This is the only other support value that we're going to try. So let's try this. Remember the computation that leads to the support. If we consider products that are bought at least 4 times a day, then on average, these products will be bought 4 times 7 times a week. And then in order to get the support, we need to divide it by the total number of transactions, which is 7,500. All right, so let's see what we get. We get a minimum support of 0.0037. So this time, if we round it, we get a minimum support of 0.004. So let's try this one. 0.004, that corresponds to products that are purchased at least 4 times a day instead of 3 previously. So let's train the a priori model again to obtain the new rules. So I'm going to execute this and we get the new rules. And since we increase the support, we find a smaller number of rules, 811 rules, compared to previously, we had more than 1,000 rules. That's because we increased the support and kept the same 20% confidence. Okay, so now let's have a look at these new rules ordered by their decreasing lift. Okay, so let's execute this, and here are the new rules. Okay, very interesting. First, by increasing the support and therefore excluding some products that have supports between 0.003 and 0.004, well, remember this first rule, if people buy light cream, they will also buy chicken. Well, this rule now became the top rule. That's definitely a great rule to consider, and chicken should definitely be close to light cream. Okay, and then we have, if people buy pasta, they buy escalope. Well, we also had this rule before. However, we have a new rule here. If people buy pasta, they will also buy shrimp. Yes, of course, this is the south of France. People are close to the sea, well, either the Mediterranean Sea or the Atlantic Ocean. And of course, people love associating shrimp with their pasta. That's a very common and exquisite meal in the south of France. And then what do we have? We have, if people buy eggs and ground beef, they're likely to buy herb and pepper in 20% of the cases. Well, of course, herb and pepper is very good on both eggs and ground beef. And then we have the same kind of rules as before, except for this new rule here. French people love to associate mushroom cream sauce with escalope. So indeed, that's a very good meal. Mushroom cream sauce goes very well with escalope. Okay, so interesting new rules that we obtain when we increase the support. So the manager of the store now should, experience these new rules that we observe here by placing the new products of these rules next to each other, then experience for a few weeks, and then observe the impact on the sales, how much the sales increase, how much the revenue increases, and then see if the business goals are achieved. And if that's the case, try to strengthen the rules or try some more powerful rules by changing the support and confidence. Or on the other hand, if the business goals are not achieved, well, same, we can try to get some new rules by increasing the confidence and maybe the support. Well, that's all related to experience. That's what data analysts and managers do in retail stores, whether there are online stores or grocery stores or any kind of stores. Well, they use these association rules and update them. And of course, combine these rules with other recommendation system techniques like collaborative filtering with, the user profiles that can add some additional relevant info, and also other more advanced techniques like the neighborhood model, the latent factor models. Well, they combine a lot of models to increase the sales and the revenue. But here you have a very good technique, very powerful technique, association rules. So congratulations for having implemented this first recommendation system in some way. And I really hope this will be useful for your business and your work. And don't hesitate if you have any questions about this. We will answer your questions very quickly. So that was the a priori algorithm. I was very happy to build this model with you. Congratulations again. Now in the next section, we're going to implement the ECLA algorithm, which is very close to the a priori algorithm, but much more simple. So that's another very good solution if you want to be very efficient and don't have too much time to experience different values of the support and the confidence, because indeed you will see that there is no confidence parameter in the ECLA algorithm. So I look forward to building this new association rule model with you in the next section. Until then, enjoy machine learning.